Hey, bees. Thanks for tuning in to my lupus podcast today. What's the buzz? Bees Business About Lupus. I'm your host, Brianne Carroll, president and founder of the Middle B Foundation for Lupus right here in Chicago. Today is July 11th, and we are on episode 3, part 1 of Healing. I'm going to introduce our special guest. Okay. Miss Jennifer Kendrick. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yes, I'm so glad you're able to tune in with us today. And yes. So I have a few questions for you, and
Okay.
then we're going to let you take over and basically just let us know your journey dealing with this illness. Okay. So, if you don't mind me asking, what did the doctors diagnose you with? What form of lupus did they diagnose you with?
Systemic lupus.
Systemic lupus. Okay. Yes, I'm very familiar with that because my sister Brandy was diagnosed with the same form of lupus, and I'll get a little bit into that in just a few. Okay. Um, did you well, how did you notice a change in your health? Like, when did you start noticing different changes that led you to go to the hospital to figure out what was going on?
Well, I had a series of skin issues, and the
Mm-hmm.
first one was on my right ear. It was on the top up here, and I just thought something had bit me. It was just a red spot. It stayed for a while. Nothing I did made a difference. And then eventually, it went away, but it stayed longer than a bug bite would have. And moved on. Next thing you know, I have one on this ear, and it was on the lobe of my ear. And again, didn't know what it was. Maybe something bit me again, and it stayed for a while. Nothing made a difference. It didn't itch or anything like that. It was just red. And eventually, it went away. And the final straw that made me say, you know what, something is wrong, is when that red spot was on the center of my nose. And it wasn't a pimple, it was just a red spot. It was kind of raised, but it was right in the center of my nose. It didn't itch. I mean, it was just really strange. And I'm like, this is weird. I'm going to go and see what's going on, because this, whatever it is, it's like traveling around my head. And went to the doctor, and he wasn't sure what it was, but he ran some tests and he gave me some medication to treat me. And that medication caused a horrible reaction. I broke out from my face all the way down to my legs. I was itching. Um, I felt like I almost had the flu. I was exhausted. And from there, he even called the CDC.
Oh
I
my
don't know what
goodness.
I don't know what he thought it was at that point, but he ended up referring me. He stopped the medication, of course, treated the allergic reaction, and um, he referred me to a doctor. Well, at that time, I don't remember if he told me it would be a rheumatologist or not. But the person that called me to make the appointment made the statement, I'm calling to set up your lupus appointment. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Nobody said anything to me about lupus.
Right.
And, she just assumed, because one of the tests that he ran was an ANA and it was positive, that I was coming for a lupus appointment. But we hadn't discussed these results and what they may or may not have meant. He wanted the rheumatologist to decide what it was, but the person that I talked to when they called to make the appointment made that statement. And I was like, what? I mean, I was just taken back because it was never a discussion. So I don't know if you want me to go further into um, what happened in order for me to get the actual diagnosis or not,
Mhm.
because it,
Okay, so we do want to hear that part, but first let's take it back just a bit. Um, do you remember the medication that he prescribed that caused you the reaction?
yes, the medication was called Dapsone, Dapson.
Okay, and do you remember at what age that they gave you an official diagnosis? How old you were?
I was
What
30,
year?
it was 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been 12 years ago. I was roughly 34.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now let's get into this the problem here. Let's go ahead and get into it. So you can go ahead and finish. So what happened after that? Once they gave you that phone call and told you, you had lupus, like what happened after that?
So I get an appointment. When I initially went to the doctor, this was around October. Well, my appointment wasn't until like March for the rheumatologist. So we got this span of months of waiting, wondering, got this idea of lupus now in my mind, and finally get to the appointment. And um, the rheumatologist does some lab work. He has the labs from my primary, and he says it could be something, it could be nothing. How about we just wait and see? Come back in 6 months if you're still having problems. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow, what?
But exactly. So I felt like he was trying to blow me off. So I was like, no. I know something's wrong with me. This
Right.
this is not normal. So he decided to continue to do different tests, and he finally decided not only on systemic lupus but also Sjogren's syndrome.
Now at that point, were you scared? Well, like I'm pretty sure your anxiety was to the roof. Like
Yes,
um
actually, before
mhm.
that, anxiety was never a problem, but after that, it became a problem. So many new issues came about after I found out and started treatment because, like I said, initially, the only issues I had were these random skin issues. And then when I look back in hindsight, I had some little minor issues on my fingers that I ignored, on my toes that I ignored. I would think that maybe I bumped my toe and didn't realize it, or, just think, maybe I let my hands get too dry and then it'll get a little red around the cuticle or something. But I would just ignore those different things. So it had been going on for years, just
Okay.
minor things that I never would have paid any attention to. But yeah, he
Now let
tried
me
to
ask
blow
you
me
this.
off, and yeah, I was scared.
Yes, I could have, I can only imagine. Have you ever heard of lupus prior to being diagnosed with it?
I had, but was not familiar at all. I could only think of like one person I knew of that had lupus, and they had a pretty bad case. They, weren't able to, walk. They were in a wheelchair and, had become quite disabled from it. So the one case that I could think of um, was a severe case.
Okay. Um, so you've been diagnosed since about 2012,
Yes.
and um it doesn't have to be an exact number, but if you had to estimate about how many pills were you taking per day, um, compared to when you were first diagnosed till, let's say now? About how many pills
I
did they
would
start you out with?
say, I'll say I got up to maybe about 5, and now the only thing I take is the Benlysta injection.
How is that going? So
It's all
you
it's
started
going fine.
out. Oh, I'm sorry. So you started out with 5 pills, and then now you just only take the injections.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So I'm sorry. Yes. Go ahead. So how is that going?
It's going fine. I do. It's a once a week injection, and I did the infusions for a while, for a few years, and just the taking the time to drive back and forth, you know, for the infusions, and that was really the biggest thing. Having to take off work a day in order to go and have the infusions. I wanted something that was less time consuming, so I gave it a try, and it worked out better for me than the infusion. I really don't have any side effects anymore from it. Um, I used to be really moody and grumpy the next day. Um, I used to be tired from it. And while those symptoms were better than with the infusion initially, I started to take my injection at night. I take it at bedtime, and that has helped me not have to deal with any of the issues that I did as far as the side effects of moodiness, because it can severely affect your mood to the degree of depression and suicidal, being suicidal, unfortunately. And I don't have the problem with the fatigue anymore. And I guess my body has gotten used to it because I used to have what is a common reaction that's minor and not to be concerned about, which is the injection site itching. And over the years of doing it, I guess my body's gotten accustomed to it, and I don't have that side effect anymore either. So that the injections are going well for me.
And these are self injections.
Yes,
Wow.
they
Okay.
send you a month supply at a time, and pick what day you're going to do it, and inject yourself once a week.
Okay. Now, when this, when you were first, when the doctors first brought this to your attention, the injections, um, did you have to go through a clinical trial? Did you participate in any clinical trials uh, before they prescribed this?
No, when I started the injections, and I actually brought it up to my doctor,
Mm-hmm.
it was already fully approved. So, and I'm a nurse. So, I just watched a little video on the Benlista Gateway website
Mm-hmm.
just to, see how their pen works. And it's really simple, really simple. And yeah, but speaking of clinical trials, I did participate in the Benlysta infusion clinical trial. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that because it was taking a long time for my insurance to improve Benlysta for me. And I was having a lot of pain, and nothing we had tried the years prior had given me much relief from my pain. The fatigue had gotten better some, but the pain was just horrible. So I decided to participate in a clinical trial for the Benlysta infusions, and thankfully, I did not get placebo. I actually got the real medications. And of course, I didn't know for sure until after that year trial was over, but I could tell that I was getting the actual medications. And yeah, so I did participate in a clinical trial before.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So, how has your diet changed from before you were diagnosed with lupus till today? Has your diet changed a whole bunch? Like, what are some of the things that you're eating right now, or just share with us your diet?
My diet has changed a lot
Mm,
from diagnosis till now. Um, One thing I can remember doing when I was doing the clinical trials, the center where I would go for my infusion for that trial was like right next door to McDonald's. And after my infusion, I would go through the drive through, get me a filet of fish combo with a strawberry fruitopia, and it would have to be large because I loved McDonald's French fries.
mhm.
So one of the biggest things that is different in my diet is I prepare most of my own food. I do not eat um, food that has been prepared, especially in fast food restaurants, very often at all. And making my own food has been the biggest thing because that's the only way I can control what's in it. And um, one of the biggest things that I did was going grain free. And if you look at the package of any food, 9 times out of 10, corn is in it and wheat is in it. And those are the two biggest potentially inflammatory foods that is almost impossible to get away from unless you prepare your own food. So that's the biggest thing that I have done is fix my own food and cut out grains.
Okay. And I wanted to know, have you incorporated fruits and vegetables in your diet, or have you always did that?
I have always been a big fruit and vegetable eater. Over the years, I have gone vegan and gone back. Unfortunately, even though a lot of people will say vegan is the best, um, it doesn't work for everyone. And I am one of those that it does not work for. So, most of my diet is vegetables. I do incorporate some fruit. It's not a big part of my diet, and I do still eat meat.
Okay. Let's get to that meat part. Okay. So what types of meat are you eating? Are you eating pork, beef, chicken? Um, do you have any type of fish in there? Like what are you eating?
Pork is very, very rare.
Okay.
Um, pork might be a once a year thing. When it comes to holidays or whatever, I might decide to eat some ham. Um, Even this Fourth of July, I didn't eat, anything remotely related to the holiday like we generally would, the
Yeah.
ribs and that kind of thing. But you know, once a year, I might have some ribs. It just, depends. But pork is definitely not a staple in my diet at all. Beef, I do eat. Generally, I try to um, eat it around my cycle because I do have issues, like many women with lupus do, of keeping my iron levels up. And beef is the food that has the most, the meat that has the most iron in it. So I try to incorporate clean beef, grass fed and grass finished. And I try to limit that to around my cycle. And I also do free range chicken. I try to keep my chicken to be free range. And also, fish is the biggest form of meat that I eat. And generally, it is salmon for the most part. I will eat mackerel, but I try to keep it those fish that are as low in mercury as possible.
Okay. Thanks you. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Is there any advice you could give to a newly diagnosed um, patient with lupus?
My biggest advice would be, do not see this as a death sentence. Don't see it as the end of your life as you know it, because you can still have a full life. And unless your symptoms are really, really bad, I would not recommend begging for the medication. And I think about that when I think about myself, because even though that initial diagnosis time for me was almost like a waiting period, not taking medicine, waiting to see how things go. In hindsight, I would have actually done that. I feel like that would have been a better option for me, because once you start the medication to suppress your immune system, it is very hard to come off of that. So when you start, you're basically agreeing to this for the long term. And if you decide later you want to stop the medication, your body is not going to go through that process easily. So I would recommend that you try to do what you can under the supervision of your doctor to do what it takes to build good health, and add medications only if it's absolutely necessary. And I know that's not a
Yes.
popular belief. However, the truth of the matter is, if we even think back to a post that you made or someone made, and we discussed that medications that we take for lupus cause a lot of problems. Increased risk for infection, increased risk for cancer. Neither of the two we want. And our bodies get trained, so to speak. And then once you try to come off, your body goes haywire. And being able to calm it without medication is very difficult once you take that restraint off your immune system. So it's, I believe our bodies are divinely designed. And when we work with that divine design, we can get very good results. And rushing to take medication that can cause severe problems that put us in those categories of those um, highest risk diagnoses that cause death, those leading causes of death, as that is very serious. And I think it's minimized when medications are being prescribed to us. So I think we need to take our power back and do what's right for our bodies, and then add the medication when we need it, not as the number one go to.
Yes. 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 Um, are you incorporating any type of exercise into your lifestyle? Whether it be, going to the gym, home workouts, or even participating in some yoga or meditation. Are you incorporating any of these into your lifestyle?
Yes, I definitely believe in a holistic approach to good health. Exercise is definitely key. I do not go to the gym. I believe that unless you are, at that level with your activity and your fatigue is well controlled, going to the gym can be a recipe for getting worse and having flares and days of exhaustion. So
Hmm.
I just really focus on being active. I do work full time. I work 12-hour shifts. So those 3 days are covered on being active. I actually had a few days last week where I almost made it to 12,000 steps in a single shift. So work covers 3 days of my activity. And I know some doctors will say work doesn't count, but work counts.
It does. And you
Work
said you are
counts.
a nurse. It definitely does.
It counts. And I like to do simple things that are sustainable. I do like yoga, stretching. Um, that is really good for um, pain management. It's really good for recovery from a busy day and still get active by doing the yoga or some type of stretching. I do like meditation. I love um, things in the mind body realm because I believe that we are able to shift a lot, especially when it comes to how stress affects our body. Um, if we use our body strategically, breath work, I love. So yeah, I'm all about doing the things that incorporate exercise and meditation for sure. Different forms of meditation.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to share a little bit about myself and my nonprofit before we leave. Again, thank you, Jennifer, so much for tuning in with us today. We will air this on Sunday, July 14th at 4 p.m. Central Time. Again, I am Brianne Carroll, the president and founder of the Middle B Foundation for Lupus right here in Chicago, Illinois. We started out as a support group in 2018, and it wasn't until 2021 when we officially formed as a 501c3 nonprofit tax exempt organization. We offer many services to the Illinois lupus community. We have our annual lupus walk every year in the month of May. We offer free fitness classes. We have yoga, meditation. We have a cycle class. This is every year. We also have a coat drive that people can come out and donate to the homeless. We also have support services monthly, whether it be a support group or whether it be us meeting up to do a low cost or free activity in the community. We also have one-to-one services where you may want to just have a one-on-one personal phone call and I come call and check in on you. We have that as well. We can be found at Middle B17, and that's BEE, like the bumblebee. So Middle B17. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have a Facebook support group called Bees, the number 4 Lupus. We have a lot going on. We also have a lupus relief grant that ranges anywhere between $500 up to $1,200. So let's say you are a person diagnosed with lupus and you're having some financial issues right now and you don't know where you can turn for help. You can turn to the Middle B Foundation for help because we will have a fundraiser specifically dedicated to you. And however much money we raise in that fundraiser, we'll provide it to you in a check. And of course, you have to be eligible. You have to have a lupus diagnosis. You have to fill out the application, and we'll contact your physician to confirm that you have the diagnosis, and we'll provide you with a check. So we offer plenty of things here, and you're probably wondering where we got the name the Middle B Foundation from. My mother had 3 girls. All of our names started with the letter B. So you have Brianne, Brandy, and Brittany. Brandy was the middle B who had lupus, and she passed away at the age of 22. So I started this nonprofit in her memory. So we envision a life with ease for all people affected by lupus through support, education, and advocacy services. It is our hope to end lupus forever. That is our mission statement, and we stand by that 100%. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in on this beautiful day. We'll have a new podcast every month, typically at the end of the month, the last Sunday of the month. But the last month podcast we were not able to do, so we're making up for it today. And we'll have different guests coming on, educating us more on lupus and healing. So I encourage everyone to prioritize self-care, manage your stress, get enough rest, and try to maintain a healthier lifestyle one day at a time. So until next time, bees, have a great day and stay safe and hydrated. Jennifer, I'll contact you right after this meeting. And thanks for coming on. And I'll see you all next time. All right. Goodbye.